Hi, everyone. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting with my journal and just recording all the miracles that have happened in my life. And I realized I could spend hours testifying from God's supernatural provision, many creative miracles that medicine said was impossible, gemstones appearing to stopping tornadoes really happened, angelic rescues, gold dust, so many things. Then I thought I'd like to record some that has been shared over the years. And I opened the subject up to our River 474 group that was online that night. The episode that we're showing here is that meeting. The miraculous takes many forms. Because it was spontaneous and my lack of technical understanding, there are a few glitches in the first minute or so, but I hope you'll stay with us. It was an amazing journey. Remember, it's what we focus on that enlarges in our life. So here's our new In Conversation About Miracles. I hope you'll enjoy it. Tonight, what we focus on expands. And what I would like to do is I would like to hear from anybody and every one of you some miracle that's happened in your life. And I know we've already had half an hour of things, the serendipitous things that have happened. But I sat down in the last week and I just said, Father, I am so blessed by the number of things that you have done in our life over the years. And and I realized that I've been focusing, my attention has gone into learning about other things and about growing in other areas. And I thought, let's spend an evening just talking about miracles. I got triggered by a friend who lives in a small town, Kenora, out by where our cottage is, and she's part of the faith community in there. And she's one of these people that are really attentive to the less fortunate and very involved in not only in politically and practically in her community. So, excuse me. And I said, so what's new? We were having a conversation, and she said, I had the best thing happen on after church on Sunday. There was a lady that they had been helping who had been in the hospital, and she was very ill. She had a very difficult time breathing, had been on oxygen, and very, very ill. Plus, one of these people that needed people to come alongside her. And at the end of the service, she sort of hung back, and my friend went and talked to her, and she could barely breathe. She had left the hospital and to come to church. And now she's sitting there with a hard time to breathe. And my friend, her name's Inger, she said, here's what I want you to do. I want you just to sit down and breathe. And she said, when you're breathing, I want you to breathe in, and I want you to imagine that you're breathing in the life of God. And when you breathe out, just breathe out everything that is is in you that shouldn't be there. And she said she sat there and did it for like 5 minutes and was completely 100% healed. Isn't that lovely? I just think, okay, okay. I want more of that in my life. I want the simple, crazy simple things. We've heard of so many things over the years together here. I sat down, I should have probably sent a notice to everybody. I sat down and I just went, I have 30 things over the years that were outstanding. I can talk for the next half hour or half hour. I can talk for the next 3 hours on things that have happened, but I don't want to, because I want to hear from you, and I want us all to be encouraged. Susan Sanowski, welcome. You are one of the people I was thinking about with miracles too, because
Thank you.
there's so many things that you've shared, excuse me, along the way. Uh, your Lost Keys Found story is outstanding. So anyway, tonight I would like to open it up for us to share. I'm going to
Thank you.
put it on the speaker view. Oh, so if everyone will mute themselves, because the speaker view comes on. Why? Okay, Kathy, am I doing something wrong here? I put it on speaker view.
You should be, are you seeing yourself?
No, I saw Samantha. Okay, now I see you.
Probably.
So this is
Okay,
working.
yeah. So whoever's speaking, and once you start speaking, it should
Come
flip
back.
back, but also pin yourself. That would be the other piece, I think.
Okay. Well, then do I pin everybody?
Um, well, we could do a test if you pin yourself and then see if I pop up there as well.
Okay, I'm pinned, but you're not coming.
Okay. So,
I need to pin you then.
yeah, when somebody starts speaking, then they'll should pop up beside you.
Okay.
Now, I wonder if I can pin somebody for you, so then you don't have to worry about it. So, Susan, can you just say hello?
Yes, hello?
No, now we have to pin Susan, and I will unpin me.
Okay, I had pinned on mine, but you need to pin her for your own. So,
Okay. All right.
Ouch.
Haven't even done it yet.
Oh, I was just practicing.
You're funny. Okay. So I just wanted it to be casual, but really, if I know we all have stories, and it's not all raising the dead stories or multiplying the loaves and fishes, although they're in the list here as well. There's so many things that I'd like you just to put, think about right now: healing, finding lost things, creative miracles, um, something materializing, intention. Did you do an intention and see the angels? Anybody have angels? Gems, feathers, gold, nature things. How about just the woohoo stories? Time stories. Um, yeah. So I would be happy to start, but I would love it if someone else, Susan, you just came up. There, there you are. There you are on the screen. This is really, would you like to start
It
with,
just it just looks like the gallery view to me. I just see the people that are on video, their faces, and everybody else their names.
yeah, well, you are on my screen, and from what I understand from my co-host who is the expert, um, that's what people see. Does anybody see Susan on the screen?
that's what the recording will see. It will see whatever's on your computer is what the recording will be. So
Okay.
we will all see what we said on our individual computers. So you're seeing gallery, Susan, because we're set on gallery, but Helen's will have the recording. We'll show the two of you up there. So
Okay. I know I'm putting you on the spot, Susan, and I don't mind starting off the,
That's all right. You want a miracle story?
whatever is on your heart in the moment,
Gosh.
choose one or six.
Oh, I don't know. That does I mean, as far as the miracles go, I've now started to say, Lord, I want a miracle a day. Because I'm sure I'm having one, I just am not noticing it. So I'm saying, okay, I need to be more conscious of the miracles.
Right.
And what's today's miracle? I don't know. I sometimes just before I go to sleep, I'll say, okay, Lord, what's the miracle I missed today? You know, that I didn't see it when it was happening, but now I want it anyway. So can you show me what it was? And sometimes I get it. And sometimes I feel like, well, tomorrow's another day.
You know, I love that you started with that because it'd be interesting to know how many people's heart this is on, is carrying this about. I think what we call miracles is should just be our life, just our life, and we're testifying. And I
Right.
love testimonies because they're not right or wrong, and nobody can argue them. It's too
That's
late.
right.
It's already happened, right? So, uh, and I mind the thing that happened with you that I've carried for a long time, and I know we have a video of it as well, but is when you lost your keys.
I know. I know that was a big one. That was a really big one.
Can you
It-
share that with everyone? We have a lot of new people on.
Mhm. I was uh I was helping a friend die. She was just one of the most incredible and loving and just gift of a friend to me. Um, it was a crazy way that I met her, and I just drove into her driveway one day when the Holy Spirit said, drive in there because she needs a ride and you've got a car. And that's how I met her. I went and introduced myself and I said, where do you need to go? And she said, what do you mean, where do I need to go? And I said, well, I know I'm here to take you somewhere. So, hop in. So she did need to go. She needed to go to buy lottery tickets and cigarettes. And if I didn't mind, could I run her to the grocery store for some milk? So we did that. And that was how I began to meet her. And then shortly after that, she was diagnosed with cancer and it was very advanced. So I had maybe 6 or 7 months that I saw her, and she just lived right around the corner from me. She'd been there for years, and I had been friends with other people that had died, but they all had family and that, and she was completely alone. She had one brother who was on the autism spectrum, and he was in his 60s, and he couldn't drive. So I stayed with her, and the Lord let me stay with her all the way to the end. And on the night that she passed, I they cleaned her room out and they were doing kinds of things to help her so she'd have a comfortable passing. And I ran out to get something to take her brother home and also to pick something up. And when I came back in, I just put my things down in the room. And when it was time to go home, my keys were gone. They were gone. And it was a small room. There wasn't any place they could be. And we looked in everything. And then I thought, well, maybe the social worker put them in her bag and, maybe one of the nurses picked them up. We scoured the place. It was midnight and I had to call my husband. He came and got me and he brought the other keys to my car. And then I went home and I thought, well, they'll find them when they clean the room. But they didn't find them when they cleaned the room. So I had taken a little walk that day and I went out the next day and I retraced my steps, nothing. And I just knew that I knew that they weren't gone. They just were out of my sight. And I called the nursing home every day for weeks. And then finally I just stopped and I said, why am I doing this? Because the Lord's going to bring them back to me when the time is exactly right. So 3.5 months went by and I was leaving for Florida and we were driving my car. My husband said, we can't go with just one set of keys. So I called up the car dealer to order a set of keys and they were, I think, $350, $400. And I said, well, we need them. But when I called to order them, the man that does my service work at the dealership said was on vacation. He couldn't order them for me. And they said, well, what should we do? And I said, just don't do anything. Because I said, I'm going to get my keys back. I'd been to the barn with my grandkids and we had just come from doing all our chores. And as we came up the route to come home, there was a big accident. So I had to turn off that road and I was going around by the nursing home, which we never would usually go by. That was not our normal route. And as I turned to go by the nursing home, I didn't even have really control over it. I pulled right in and pulled right up in front of the car. And I sat there, and my little grandson said something to me, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but he said something about a dream. And I had a dream that morning, just that, when you're in between waking and sleeping, I was almost awake, and I had this picture of a little old lady. She looked like Aunt Bee in the Mayberries, with Andy Griffith and Opie, and she looked just like her. She had a little bun on top of her head, and she had those little glasses, and I thought that was so odd. And I went into the nursing home, and there was no one at the desk. So I came back out, and when I walked back in, there was a young Black girl who was coming out of their break room, and she turned around and went back in, and she didn't acknowledge me. So I went out to the car, and I came back in, and Aunt Bee was sitting behind the desk. She was there, exactly what I saw in my dream. And before I could even get the words out of my mouth, I was right up to the desk, and I said, I'm wondering if anybody found a set of keys. And she was holding them in her hand, and she said, oh, here they are, dear. And she dropped them right into my hand. And I just was delighted. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I thought my heart was going to just pop right out of my chest. And I went out to the car, and I was just so excited. And the kids said, oh, that's a miracle. That's a miracle. And I said, yeah, I know. And then I thought, oh, I never thanked her. And I went back in, and there was the Black girl who came out of the break room, and she was sitting behind the desk. And I said, oh, I just wanted to thank that lady for my keys. And she said, what lady? And I said, that lady, the little old lady that was here with the little bun on top of her head. She gave me my keys. And she said, well, there's nobody here. She said, I'm the only one that's on. And she said, I was in the break room. I thought I heard somebody out here. That's why I came back out. And I went back to the car, and we were leaving for Florida the next morning. Or not the next morning, I'm sorry, it was the next week, because my service guy was going to come back and get my keys, make me another set. So that was one of my big miracles. And I just thought it was, yeah, that's unforgettable.
Yeah. Susan, thank you for sharing that. I have to tell you, I'm going to try to get us here. I have to tell you, when you first shared that, it has to be over a year now. I have thought about that so many times. It has encouraged my faith to the impossible, right? Because in your testimony, I listened to it, and I just think, what incredible peace that you just weave through this story, and how amazing the events of it were supernaturally natural. They weren't the big woo 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 kind of thing, but it was a woo woo.
It sure was.
Yeah. Oh my golly. I absolutely love that. I love it. I love it. I love it.
It reminds me of that old TV show with Michael Landon, Touched by an Angel. It was like, that's what I really felt like. Although, I don't know, I guess she was an angel. She was a messenger. She had a message for me. Here they are, dear.
Yeah. Well, and where did she go? Like, who was she, and where did she go?
Where did she come from? Yeah.
If the staff doesn't know, then how are you supposed to figure it out? Like, be careful to entertain. No, be careful to entertain strangers, because they may be an angel unaware, right? Yeah. Oh, I love it. And what a testimony to your kids. When those things happen, they absolutely, it's sort of a double impact. I don't see any hands up for another story. So one of the special impact stories for me is we were at Gina and Mark's for dinner. This is a number of years ago now, and our kids were younger. And we were talking about miracles and things happening, and talking about things like gold dust appearing and feathers and that. And Gina said, testified of that happening. And as we're talking about it, I get gold dust all over me. And is there a greater testimony, right, to these young people? It's not just your mom telling stories out of school, but now you can watch it happening. And those are those beautiful, forgettable moments. Just wonderful. Kathy, I'm going to pin you here.
Actually, Eddie had his hand up. I think he wanted to
Oh,
share
did he?
something.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. That's okay. Go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, okay. Well, a long time ago, I was uh, carrying some water down to the river. We lived on the Seine River, and every Christmas or every winter, I made a big centerpiece, painted it, and to put the finishing touches on, I was carrying some water and I slipped because when you carry water, you spill some, and there's some ice, and I slipped and I tore my ligaments in my knee. Got an operation, and on I think it was a Tuesday, and so I phoned my principal saying, I just had the operation on Tuesday. I won't be in tomorrow. And he said, where are you calling from? And I'm going, what are you talking about? And he says, well, rumor has it that whenever you're phoning in from some vacation spot and nothing to prove that. He's just kidding me. And I'm going, no, I just had an operation and I'm at home. And Helen is listening to my conversation, and he had mentioned Florida, and she said, what was this about Florida? And my principal said, how come you're not in Florida if you had an operation? So Helen made a couple of phone calls, and she has some friends in Florida. They had a condo. We left the next day for the condo, and they had a pool, uh, and I'm on crutches and stuff like this, and just had a knee operation, and anyway, during that week we believed that I'd be healed, and we took a picture of me throwing the crutches into the ocean, and I came home on a Wednesday. Yeah, like a week. We spent a week there. I came home and I phoned my principal and said, I'm healed. I'm going to come back to school. And he said, you can't. And he says, why? Because we have somebody here, and it's a long weekend. You can't come back till Tuesday. And I'm going, but I'm healed. Like I want to work. And he said, nope, you can't come back. And I was so blown away. Like, here I am with a perfect knee and a suntan to boot, and he wouldn't let me go to work. So that that was a miracle that I can attest to, and Helen can attest to too.
That's what I'm staying on. That was a great time. I think it was the third day. After the first day was pretty rough because he still had all the gauze and stuff from the surgery, and we took the flight into a hotel room, had to wheelchair him in there, and we left this massive bloody uh, mass of stuff from the operation. They must have thought somebody had been murdered. Anyway, then we get to the condo, and I think it was day 3. It took 3 days, and he threw the crutches into the ocean and was completely healed. That is a great story. I witnessed that. Great story, Eddie. Thank you. All right. Betty, am I in the right order now, Kathy?
Kathy was actually first.
Okay. Everybody's so polite. Kathy.
Sure. I was actually thinking about this morning. Not as fantastic as, having a knee healed like that. That's amazing. But this can't remember, I came back from Nashville or whatever, and our toilet wasn't working downstairs, and it's like, okay, it's coming up to have to work on Saturday. I'll get to it. I, had YouTubed how to fix it and whatnot. And the day came, it was the day before I was, thinking, okay, what do I need to go buy at Rona or whatever? And I flushed the toilet and it's like, it's working. Like, oh, that's so cool. So I lifted it up. It's like, oh, that part got replaced. I'm like, Greg, he was probably over and fixed my toilet. And so I messaged him and he said a plumbing angel came to my house and fixed my toilet. Thank you very much. He's like, I didn't do it. I'm like, you didn't? And he's like, nope. And then Eric, no, he hadn't done it. And then I thought, oh, maybe Greg's son Daniel, who comes over. I thought maybe Daniel, he had done some apprenticeship. No, if I'd known, I would have done it, but I didn't know about it. And so nobody's claiming that they participated, and I'm claiming giving thanks to the angel that came in and replaced it in my toilet because none of us could figure it out how it got fixed, but it was clearly visibly fixed, changed part and everything. So very grateful, and I just thought that was just so beautiful.
That is so great. That is outstanding. Outstanding. And you know when he says to be grateful in all things and rest, rest, rest? That's such a great testimony on both ends. Thanks for sharing that. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Just gonna Betty.
Okay, well, I'll share what I want to share. I just want to say that I have had a couple of amazing, well, not me, but like my husband should have died and he miraculously survived. This was like about 12 years ago, and he's still here. We were in the States and we went up a wrong one-way street or on the highway. It was at night, and all of a sudden there's this car, the police car, standing with his lights and stopping any cars from coming. So those are the little ones, but or the big ones, I should say. But the ones that I'm finding now, because of what's happening in my circumstances, I'm feeling sort of very much alone. And I'm amazed at how I'm getting connected with people, or people are saying, you can call me. Like you said that. I also, the fellow who has done our lawn and our driveway, our snow removal, he said, yeah, he would do some little jobs around the house because he used to do that, for his job. And he said, so he has done a few jobs, and it's amazing because I sort of feel like, oh my gosh, like who am I going to call? And I'm getting and the girl who did our gardening, she said, oh, you can contact me. Yeah, I have lots of connections if you need this and if you need this. So that's what right now, what I'm really so thankful for is because that's what I need right now is to have people, uh, that I can contact, that I can call. And yeah, so that I'm to me, those are miracles. Those are miracles to me. Like Father's just really, really there for me, and he's showing me who I can talk to and call. So it's just those are the little ones, but they're big.
But don't you feel hugged? Like I just went
Yeah.
really and truly just hugged by the Lord.
Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't believe it. Like, wow, like I can call this person. Like it's just like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's there every step of the way. It's not just a story that we tell. That's the fact.
Yeah.
He's present to everything.
Yeah.
Wow, Betty, that's a beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gina girl.
Oh, Betty, that's beautiful. That's one of the things I have written down here. It's the everyday stuff. And coming into some kind of consciousness and awareness that, you know what, whatever it is we face, it's going to work out. there's a reason for whatever, and it's going to turn. It's going to shift. It's going to, and if we just get a hold of that, that is a miracle.
Yeah.
Because that's us shifting into a different reality on an everyday mundane things. And that's who we're called to be. So, oh my gosh, that is absolutely beautiful. And it's not small, it's huge. And those are miracles that we walk in every single day. And if we can just acknowledge that that is a miracle, oh my gosh, the windows of heaven will open and pour down upon you and every one of us, more than we can even think or imagine. So it's the everyday that is compounded and line upon line, precept upon precept, and we grow into the hugeness of the things that we're called to do, greater things than Jesus ever did.
Amen.
So my goodness, thank you for sharing. That is beautiful. That's one of my miracles, the everyday stuff. It's I'm acknowledging the everyday thing. And I know it's going to shift. I know it's going to turn. I know it's going to be whatever the Lord brings at the perfect time. And somebody said that as well. And I thought, yeah. Well, that is so great. The one I want to share was, I have a bunch, but whatever. Really fun miracle. I had to do this intention for my husband, who had to go into this surgery during all the COVID crisis stuff. And there were certain things that we had to, we were whatever, mandated to do that we weren't going to do. And so we had to stand in our square. And I thought, okay, I don't know how to do this, except that I know that I have a God who walks before me, who makes the crooked way straight and the bumpy way smooth, and that he is my rear guard. I knew that. I knew that. I thought, okay. So I stayed up all night in this intention. And I had to go up against a major hospital's CEO board to get around this. And I said, okay. But I just did an intention instead. And it shifted at the 11th hour. And we got to do exactly as we intended and exactly as we consented to do. And it had nothing to do with what they wanted us to do. So, I mean, it was a huge thing at the time, but somehow God turned around in these CEOs' decision making, whatever, and switched it up for our favor.
Yeah.
Which was beautiful, So sometimes miracles, we have to stand in this really uncomfortable spot because we know the truth and we know what it is. We stand in our square on something that is for righteousness' sake, right? Or whatever it is. However, we are inclined by our heart and what our heart is telling us. We have to stand by it. And so that was really, really fun. And I got this phone call in the morning at 7 o'clock. Hadn't gone to sleep yet because I thought I'm staying up till I'm good. And that was it. And there it was. And I thought, okay, well, we'll see you in about a half an hour. Bye. And it was a life-changing thing.
Yeah.
So that was a cool miracle.
That's a really, it's cool and it's encouraging because in times where there's definitely more to your story, but in essence, the times that that you experienced, where you've got the government that his voice sounds very loud, and can be very intimidating. And
Mhm.
you're saying, no, I'm standing in my sovereignty and my rights in God.
Mhm.
Your rights in Him, standing in Him, stood the test and changed a system that I'm sure they're shaking their heads on, saying, how did that happen?
Yeah. And it
Really,
shifts in the moment,
it,
and which is beautiful if we just stand there long enough.
yeah. And the other thing is, for those of us who don't want to stand all night on something, I really commend you for standing. Like when you've done all to stand, stand. It is true to stand until you are in that place of absolute peace and rest in whatever situation. It is such a key. It is such a key. You didn't give up. You stood until till the 11th hour. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a great, thank you. Thank you for, that's super encouraging. Super encouraging. Wow. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. These are absolutely wonderful. Um, Catherine, that pin.
There we go. So I have two things. It was hard to even pick just two things because I think that what I've heard from everybody say it's like through your whole life of walking with God, there are just so many, and they're every day, and they're beautiful, and they're everything from the toilet to health to. But anyways,
Yeah.
the two that I really wanted to share was my daughter. I live in Wisconsin, and my daughter had moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's a long ways away, and it was kind of hard for her at first as she was trying to get settled and get situated there and figure out what she wanted to do. She did it as it was a purposeful life choice to kind of refresh, new start. She'd gone through some hard times and wanted to start over. And there was one day where she had called and she was just so distraught because nothing was working out. It didn't, the money wasn't happening. Jobs weren't coming together. Just a whole host of different things that were really problematic for her. And as mom, I felt really awful about it and was like, oh, wanting to get on a plane and go hopping out there, but couldn't do it at the time for a variety of reasons. So I'd gotten off the phone with her and I just went and said, oh, Daddy, and just held her in my heart and thought about it and thought, I don't know that there's anything I can do. And I didn't even know how to pray. And that night, then I went to sleep and I had a dream. And in the dream, I knew that I was going into heaven and I was getting some things, and I knew I had to go there to get them for her. And it was a purse, high heel shoes, and some keys. And so I went into heaven and got these things for her and came back and knew I came back. And the next day I wrote it down in my journal and I didn't say anything to her. I just waited. And it was amazing to see that all of a sudden everything in her life started to turn around. And it was so immediate and so quick that it turned around. And even today now, she has her own business. And it just, the whole thing just, it was amazing. And it was all God. And I shared that with her after it turned around. And so that was one example. And the other one, I have to say this one just because it's kind of funny too. Um, I I had moved from one city to the next, and in the house that I was in originally, I had this really nice dining room table with 6 chairs, all wood, really a beautiful set. But in the new house, it was just kind of too big and unwieldy, and you'd have to kind of work your way around it. And I finally got to the point where I thought, I should really think about doing something different for this table. It's just too big. And I knew that there was a woman, she actually did my hair. And I said to her, do you need a table? And she goes, oh, I've been wanting one. We've been wanting a new table. But at the time, her husband was a school teacher and she was doing hair at the time and going to school to be a nurse. And so they didn't have the extra funds for a table. So I gave them the table. And then I thought, I'm going to go buy the one I want. And I picked out what I wanted and I knew exactly what it was. And the one I liked that I had seen was in Pottery Barn. And I went and looked at it. I'm like, ooh, that's really expensive. I don't want to spend that much money. I'm like, I'm going to just take some time and do some more shopping. So I was looking around, taking my time. And then I went down to visit family members in Madison over Christmas and was going to actually go from store to store and do some shopping to actually see if I could find exactly what I wanted. I knew what it was. And I was with my sister-in-law and we were driving along and it was a snowy night. And we're going from a store where we just done some grocery shopping back to their house. And as we were driving along, I said to her, I said, stop, there's my table. And she's like, what are you talking about? It was sitting there on the side. Someone had put it out on the curb. And it was exactly what I wanted, the table, the chairs. And then we went back home and got the truck, brought it back to get the table, started picking up the table, and the people came out and they said, oh, if you're going to take this, we've got the inserts for it and everything. I've got this beautiful set that fits perfectly and works perfectly in my house. And it was all free and it was all God. It was so much fun. And the best thing about it is the family saw it. And every time something comes up, whenever I'm doubting something, my sister's like, this is a person that gets tables delivered on the side of the road. So it was really cool.
I love that. That is, that's ridiculously encouraging. And it sort of goes to the theme that started even before the meeting tonight on how he goes ahead of us, right? He goes ahead. He knows what we need. He knows what the desires of our heart, and from the amen to the there it is just exciting. And I love, actually, one of my favorite scriptures in Job, because I love testimonies of dreams and visions, and you touched on both, Catherine. It is lovely about actually going into that vision, going into heaven, and listening, paying attention to that, and paying attention to your dreams. In chapter 33 in Job, it says, "For God speaks once, yea, twice, yet man perceives it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men and slumbering on their beds, he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction." And so our dreams are super important, and it brings us into that dimension. And when I do the dreams and visions course, I always comment on this one, because I realized for me, the reason he talks to me in dreams and visions is because I'll finally shut up and I'm asleep, And sometimes we get in the way. So thank you, Catherine, for sharing. That's beautiful, beautiful. Maggie.
I have two. I have so many here. I'm just trying to think which one I want to share. But I tend to find that with miracles, they tend to happen to me when I really, really need God the most. Just so happens I'm really in a very hard place, if you like. So the first one was when, of course, you all know about my grandson who was healed miraculously of the lump on his neck. That's just another miracle, relatively recent, let's say 2 years, or maybe a bit more than that. But the one I wanted to mention was when I was living in America on mission for a year in Millville. And we were with the church, and we were given a car, and the pastor very clearly said to the members of the church, please stop going around to their house and asking them, demanding for us to take them everywhere. But they didn't listen to that. They still kind of knocked on our door every now and then and said, can you drive me here? Can you drive me to work? So anyway, one day someone asked us to drive them to work, and we really didn't have any petrol. We said, we really got any petrol, but she insisted that we drive her. So we did. We drove her, dropped her off, and lo and behold, we ran out of petrol or gas. And we were in some lonely roads out there in Millville, where we were. I think we travelled outside of Millville to drop her off. And we ran out of petrol, and we had no idea where to go. There's just a few dotted houses around. And so we stopped at this random house, as you do, knocked on the door and said, I'm really, really sorry, but I wondered if you could help us because we don't have any petrol. We can't get to where we're going to. And the man was really nice. He took us out back to outside in the outback, and he had some petrol. I think he was a farmer. So he gave us some petrol from his stock, stash, whatever, gave us some petrol. And then he said, I'm going to follow you to the gas station. So he drove we followed him. Actually, we followed him because we didn't know where we were going. We followed him to the gas station. Then he said, right, fill her up. So, here we were in the middle of nowhere, and God was with us. And we were abandoned because, the person left and we had no way of getting back. And that's just one of the small miracles it felt like it was a big miracle that we really didn't know how we were going to get back. And we were in a strange country, so we just felt that God was really, he had our back that whole time, and he rescued us and brought us back with a full tank of petrol. I'm sure he was an angel. So that was the first one. We was in America for almost a year, so we had a lot. That was the first time I had to really, really trust God. I don't really know how to trust God until I went to America. We had no one. Anyway, back in the UK now, I have a grandson who was taken away from us when he was about he was about 9 months. His mother took him. She had a relationship online. She was married to my son. She had a relationship online, and she decided that she was going to leave. She wanted to go to America. America always comes up. She wanted to go to America to marry somebody that she'd only met online. Anyway, she took my grandson with her. And long story short, we went through the courts for a very long period of time. It must have been because COVID hit and everything was elongated. And it had to be done online. The court sessions had to be held online. And it was very, very long. And it was very, very distressing for my son, who felt that I didn't think he was going to survive. But thank God, through prayer, he did. Anyway, we were going to the courts. He was going to the courts. We were supporting him all the time. And we got to the stage now where they were saying to her, if you stay in the country, they will help her to find somewhere to live. And then we could have him at maybe holiday time, because she would have the main care over him. And that she must have realized that the court case wasn't going in her favor. And there came a point where she said, right, just come and get him. That was the words, just come and get him. She told the social worker, just come and get him. Well, that was music to our ears. So that was it. He was now going to be handed over to us, and we were going to have full custody. And that was an absolute miracle. It very rarely happens that the man gets the full custody of the child. So that in itself is a real miracle. But so that was one miracle. And then we had to go and get him. But we were in COVID time. So no one could travel anywhere. I remember that it came through that he was in Wales. If you know Wales, it's kind of a little bit over the border. So we had to. They gave us a period of time where they lifted the COVID restrictions only for about 9 days, and it was in that period that God allowed for us to be able to go in and get him. So it was just a lifting of COVID. So we went out, and we didn't have any money to go because we had to stay in a hotel, because this normally takes 3 months to get a child settled. But they had to do it in 4 days. So my brother came forward and gave us some money so that we could go and stay in a hotel for 4 days and spend some time with him, take him to the zoo and whatever, just kind of get to know him. And so we went in, and as soon as the day we were bringing him back, the next day, the COVID restrictions were back in place. So it was like God just went, there you go and get him, bring him back. COVID comes down.
Oh,
And we now have the most amazing sometime you may have seen him with me, maybe last year. He's 7 now. He's such a delight, and he's with us full time. I have him at the weekends, and he's doing so well. But that was an absolute miracle that we've now got. And when he was taken, I was in such turmoil myself, and we'll walk around the shops, and I'd see these little clothes, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to buy something for him. I'm going to believe that he's coming home to me. So I went and bought him a little jacket, it was like like a jacket, like a suit jacket, just the jacket. It was so cute. I thought, I'm going to get that for him. And I got him a pair of shorts, and I said, I'm putting this down for when he comes back, because he is coming back. And that's how I was kind of psyching myself up, that I know God's going to make a way for him. And then my sister-in-law had a dream. She said, I saw you with a child with a blue jacket. I said, really? That must be the blue jacket that I have in. And I went and got the jacket out of the wardrobe, and I showed it to her, and she said, yeah, that's the one. So I knew it was coming home as well, because that was the Lord showed us that he's coming home. That jacket was put aside for him, and of course I put him in it as soon as I got him. But yeah, so that was miracle.
oh my golly. Oh my golly. Maggie, I didn't know that one. Did not know. Did not know. How did we miss that? That is an exceptional story. It sort of goes with Gina, like standing in your sovereignty in the worst of times, then God makes it into the best of times. And only it's sort of one of these, only God can change governments and uh, lift bans and or curtains and shut them. And oh my, have you told your grandson that story? Does he know the miraculous?
I haven't reminded it
Maybe.
of it lately. It was pretty much this time, because it was around about the 9th of, it's pretty much around about this period of time, 3 years ago that it happened.
Yeah.
But we do forget what sometimes, that this is a real miracle that we've got here in our midst. And so it's a good idea. I will be reminding him again about how we got to it. Sometimes, because we did take lots of pictures and lots of video footage, and he was very feral, by the way, because he'd lived in an apartment, and didn't even know how to climb the stairs.
Oh
So
my.
we had, and there was lots of triggers. So it took us a long time to get him settled, and you couldn't get him out of his clothes that he was wearing. He was in those clothes for all the clothes that he had. I couldn't put him in anything new. You want to shower him with all these new, you couldn't, because he would just go crazy. It was a real difficult time. But right now he's just so well adjusted, and most of those triggers have gone now. So thank God.
What a blessing for him to grow up in your home and all of that. And I know you mentioned briefly to your grandson. I just want to add to that story. When we were just learning as a group, we were learning about intention and how to set our hearts to the end result. It totally rocked our world and our praying. And I just want to thank you, Maggie, for allowing us as a the small group here that we were a few years ago to be part of that awesome time where this little baby was born with a tumor on his neck that is probably as large as my hand here. And his mom did not want him to have medication or an operation, but was going to trust God. And we stood with her in the end result. And when Maggie sent the pictures of this baby completely free of that tumor, you know what? It rocked our world too. Just being part of that. All these things aren't in isolation, and it gives us strength and courage and understanding to just go way beyond. So it's been a delight walking with you. I love this story of your grandson. What a time. Thank you so much. Wow, wow, wow. All right. Sam, Pin.
Hi. Oh,
Hi.
this is so fun. Thank you so much for giving us privilege to share. Well, my story, it just happened about a month ago. I had a privilege to go to Brazil on a mission trip. And one of those days, we are assigned at a healing room. And if you guys know healing room, how it's structured, they bring in people to be ministered to. And one of the girls who came in, young lady, and she just wanted passion of God to be ignited, fire of God to be ignited. You know, it was a lovely young lady in her 30s with thick glasses. And, there was, of course, translator, but while we are praying, we weren't really asking for translation. We just, release fire of God, passion of God, and extravagant love of God to give into her. And she starts shaking, start crying. So she takes her glasses off. She's crying. And about 10, 15 minutes later, she just stops. And, you could tell God did an amazing work within her. And she's like saying thank you. And she put her glasses back on. And she's acting really weird. And she takes her off glasses and cleans it out, puts back on, and she cannot see. And then, so she takes it off and she could see far, far away. She wore thick glasses, nearsighted. And God did this miraculous healing on her eyes, and she didn't even ask for them. It's just that extravagant love of God just like touched her heart and it manifested in her body. And we were rejoicing with her. And next person who came, they did not know that story, but they also wore glasses, and that person received healing on their eyes, one after the other. And another team was sitting not that far from us, but that wasn't our team. But this one lady walked in. It's in 80 degrees. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's hot. People are wearing tank tops, sleeveless shirt. But this girl who walked in was wearing a jacket, everything covered up. Her hair is like falling, and you could tell, she didn't want people to see her, very shy. And, I was kind of drawn to her the way she was walking in, darkness were over her. But she didn't come to our team. She came to the team kind of next to us. And next thing we know is the minister starts screaming, and we're like, what's going on? Supposedly she was born with lazy eyes. So her eyes were crossed, and you start going into the perfect spot, and everybody on that team was able to see it. The extravagant love that was in that room was just overwhelming. And she came in not asking for eyes either, because she was born with lazy eyes, and she received prayer so many times in her life. She was in her 40s and never received healing, so she didn't want to be disappointed. So she came in for her healing over her heart. She was going through a lot of shame and depression, and God healed her eyes, and she walked out, taking her jacket off, because I guess fire of God was upon her. She started sweating, so she took her jacket off. Her head us up, and the lightness came upon her. It was just so amazing to watch, so I just wanted to share that with you. The extravagant love of God, you don't even ask for it, and God just like blesses us beyond and above what we could think. So
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Sam. That you know how the extravagant love of God gets in a room. You bring it there. That was quite a team you're on to show up, right? Just show up and be him.
well,
Be
it felt like, if you don't mind me saying a little further,
oh,
have you guys ever seen little clip of sperm and eggs? Like for what is that word?
the
Not
fertilizer
fertilizing. What's that word?
when
When
it comes together.
yes.
Conception.
Conception.
Okay, that word. I'm thinking of another word, but that word will do. Supposedly, science has proven that light happens, explosion happens. You guys seen that thing? It felt like it. They were so hungry for God. They were like eggs, and we were just conduits, and God's just love came upon them, and it just exploded like bright light, and just like miracles and signs were happening, not by anything we were doing. It's just, they were ready to receive his love.
Oh my gosh, that touches me so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
That-
for giving us this platform to share.
oh, these aren't these wonderful stories? Like, don't you sort of feel like, I can do this? I want to be that love. I want to be that walking in that miracle. I want to stay in the rest till the keys come to me by an angel. Yeah, it's us. It's us. That's so beautiful, Sam. That's so beautiful.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Wow. Wow and wow. Gina.
I just put my hand up because nobody else had their hand up. So
Okay.
can I go again?
Of course you can.
Okay. I loved when you talked about the dreams. I had this one dream one night and I woke up um and it was a really difficult dream. And it was but I knew it was real. And I thought, oh my gosh, I woke up and I actually threw up because of the realness of it all and the difficultness of it all. But the Lord gave me the dream as a miracle because something had to happen. And I needed to know this. Uh, it was amazing. And then events in my life and in this other person's life, which was the dream was about, changed and morphed and shifted and grew into this beautiful thing. But oh my gosh, dreams. I just went to bed. I wasn't thinking about anything. And this amazing, miraculous dream happened. It wasn't the funnest thing at all by any means or stretch, but my goodness, it changed the whole trajectory of my life.
That's so
Yeah, it was amazing. So I just wanted to pipe in on dreams.
on dreams. A few weeks ago we were in conversation like this at one of the Wednesday nights, and you mentioned about setting your heart as you're going to sleep, that in between waking and sleeping, going
Yes,
into dreams, and how effective that is in our ability to actually manifest, because that's the time where
right.
we make that shift into the desires and pull them in, pull
Mhm.
them in. And
Absolutely. And
you-
when you said about dreams tonight, you said, it was the only time that you could be quiet enough to hear or see. It wasn't so much even being quiet enough, not even knowing
right, right, right.
that the Lord would show you a thing.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Like, and it reminded me of that. And I thought, well, it's not even being quiet or stilling our minds or something. It's something we don't even know,
right.
not even aware of. But he
Exactly.
brings us the consciousness of a thing,
Right.
right? And if we are open then and there's where that luminal space comes in
Yeah.
between,
Yeah.
setting your heart to hearing the Lord and hearing the things that you wouldn't maybe normally hear or you wouldn't normally know. There would
Right.
be no way you would know this. That he is so faithful and so amazing and so loving to let you in on a thing,
Right on.
difficult as it might be,
Right
right?
on. Yeah.
Um, because then you know, okay, I can walk through this, I can see this, I can help this person, whatever the situation is. because it is the I am
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
that wakes up
Yeah.
and alerts you. You are in awareness and you arise.
Yeah.
To
And
the
you're not filtering. You're not filtering anything. You
it's easy.
actually step
When it's
in.
a dream, it's there
time.
and it wakes you up and you throw up and you know. You know it's true. Whatever.
I'm gonna pass on the throwing up part,
Well,
but
I hear you, but just depending on what the situation is or what the information is, whatever, we respond however we respond, but all that stuff doesn't matter.
right,
The other stuff
probably,
is that we're aware to it and we can arise to it and let God arise in it.
yeah,
So that was the one thing
and we
that
changed.
I wanted to just bring up. But the other thing was this beautiful intention I had for my daughter who had had this miscarriage as a first pregnancy and was very distraught about it and thought that she would never have children, blah, blah, blah. So I had this intention and I went into another realm and collected certain things out of the river. And anyway, to make a very long story short, had the whole idea of this new baby being conceived. The month, the sex of the baby, the name, and how it was. Like this beautiful way. I won't go into all the whole detail because it's a big, long story, but wrote it all down in my journal. It was 11 months before the baby was born. So 2 months before the baby was conceived. So I left it in my journal and sat and I thought, oh, okay. And this was my very first intention I ever did. Like
Nice.
really seriously.
Nice. Nice.
And I thought, okay, I'm gonna have an experiment. I'm just gonna do this. And here it is. And I had this amazing, ascension time, and a man wrote everything all down, blah, blah, blah. Never said a thing. And this baby came 11 months later, and she said to me, oh, I don't know, when she was like 3 months into the pregnancy, she said, Mom, I have to tell you something. I said, I know you're pregnant. And she said, how do you know? I said, I don't know. Anyway, isn't that fun? And she goes, the baby's coming in August. I said, no, the baby's coming in September. And she goes, no, the baby's coming out. I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. That's awesome. And so then her midwife said to her, oh, here we're going to do this, whatever, measuring, blah, blah. I think the baby's coming in September. Because, Mom, how do you know the baby's coming in September? I said, after September, after the baby's born, I'll share the whole thing with you.
That's so good.
But very, very fun. So, I mean, God is so faithful and so amazing and, wants us to know things.
Yeah.
Just to experience the I amness of who he is. And like you said, it's supposed to be an everyday thing.
I think we're there. I think we're there.
Exactly.
And
I do too.
I just what a great conversation.
Remember that we're in it. It is an everyday thing. Those miracles, they happen every day. Anyway, I'll be quiet. I'm done.
Thank you. That's so super. So super. Wow, are these great? Miss Susan, welcome back.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak to Gina's first time when she shared. And as she was talking about standing on her square, I'm thinking, you were standing in the courts of heaven. You were governing that whole situation. It was not governing you. And I'm trying to keep that and remember that we are governors. And that just came to me as such a clear picture. And it just that really encouraged me that you were governing from above. And that just really touched me. Thanks. And I think we should all get t-shirts that say Miracle Magnet.
Gonna write that down for today. We're the t-shirt people. We need to do this.
Oh, governing from above.
Yeah.
Yep.
We really do need to do the t-shirts, like seriously. Like we need to bring them into manifestation. The end.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Susan, my heart's with what you just said. somebody is going to govern. It might as well be us, really. And I love that you will just stand in your square, just do it.
Yep.
Just do it. Love it. Are you sharing another miracle? No? Okay. Thank you for that. Really appreciate. Lovely, lovely. The Plank family's all together. Hey,
Howdy.
howdy.
We are. Sorry, long traffic. Didn't even get home till after y'all were well into this. So I was catching up, but I just want to share. Well, I was going to say quick, and it'll be quick for me. How's that? So you're looking at a miracle, right? I mean, you really are. The fact that we're together, it was July of 2006 that our marriage hit a wall. Like literally, she wanted out. I finally quit denying how bad everything was. Well, I didn't have a choice, right? It was like hitting a brick wall. And, um, we were separated and I was filing for divorce. Within 3 months, we were back together.
Wow.
And working on it. And it was literally right behind where we're sitting right now. I hit the floor in prayer, probably the truest prayer of my life to that point. And most desperate. So like you said, sometimes, I mean, it's, when we are weak, he is made strong. Honestly, sometimes that's just us getting out of our own way of trying to fix it ourselves. And I can tell you for me, my prayer was literally, Lord, everything I'm doing is making this worse. I need you. And he answered so directly and so real to me that I could never turn back after that. I could never turn back. But our life, there's more to it. There was some healing that had to happen, a lot of counseling. But here we are, what? Gosh, almost 20 years later. Okay. And we have an amazing family. We're still together. Jen got to grow up, and so did Connor, in a house where God was first. And gosh, we went through everything from, what is holy to who do I judge next? Who's out? Who's less than? To where we are today, to where I can walk in from work pretty tired from the commute and just the long hours, and hear someone say, I was helping my friend die. And I wasn't quite in the zone of the meeting. And I was like, if I walked into any other house and heard somebody say that, that would mean murder. But it's totally in context for who we are. And I understood it fully. And then the next story is about this crazy Canadian who flies down to Florida to throw his crutches in the ocean and just litters, and that's fine too. That's who we are.
Yeah.
But that's now normal for me. But I want to share this. And I did share it a little bit ago because you're asking for miracles. And aside from the big one, the obvious one, and those of you who met Jen in Missouri, I think you see it, and you see it even through Zoom, what she brings to the table, right? What she carries and what she releases and the impact she has on people. Well, we're walking examples of that. But let me just share the miracle that you all are to me. Really kind of getting me to understand I am out of here and really becoming more and more a part of me. I just told this story a little bit ago. My coworker at work, we were literally in lunch. It was a working lunch. And she looked down and her beautiful, not inexpensive diamond ring was missing. And so, of course, panic, just, oh dear, oh dear. And so she goes back to our office area to look for it. And I'm going through all the lost and found because we're in the cafe area of our campus where we work. And there's nothing in lost and found yet. So I go back to the cubes, and now there's 3 other people literally crawling around the floor looking for this ring where it might be. And nobody can focus on anything but her ring. And I'm like, man, really had some agenda items we needed to cover. And that's where my head was. And I'm like, but I can't bother her now. And then I saw how truly worried she is. And this is out of character for her to be that worried and upset. And in that moment, I just heard this voice say, "Who are you?" And what it was a reminder of who I am and who I'm supposed to be. So in that moment, I just stopped and I looked over and I said, "Check the pockets of your sweater that was hanging on the back of her chair." And I just knew that I knew that it was in the pocket of her sweater. And she said, "I've checked it." And I said, "But that's a knitted sweater. It's things like that snag and hide and get turned up. It could still be in there." So just check it again. Well, it wasn't there. And I was like, well, maybe I missed that one. But she went home and within 15 minutes, she texted all of us and said, "I found it. I found it. I found it." And oh, sorry, I left the part out that was important because when I heard the "who are you," I went over and in a workplace where you're not supposed to proselytize or do any of this, but I'm pretty open about who I am. I said, I am the person who can comfort her right now and give her confidence. And I am the person who can say, "You'll find it. It's not missing." And so I walked over and I took her and I said, "Let me hug you." And I just quietly said in her ear, "You're going to go home and you're going to find it." And within 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it was, she was home. She texted us. She said, "I found it. I found it. I found it." And where it was in the jacket of it was in the pocket of the jacket that she had worn the day before.
Wow.
So close enough for me, right? I missed it a little bit. I got the vision just slightly wrong. But I'm telling you, I knew in my knower that in that moment, I was there for that purpose and everything else. I later looked at, okay, well, I'll write this down so we don't miss it. And I went to my notes that were on my calendar invite. And I was like, none of that's actually that important anymore. And those were like, I need to cover this in this meeting. They had also kind of become unimportant by not just the events of the ring, but everything around it was, oh, I don't need to talk to her about those anymore. So that may not seem like a big miracle, but I will tell you from where we were to where we are and being able to be I am in that moment and do it in front of other people, unabashedly, unashamedly, and have those results. I just want to thank you all for being a part of that in my journey.
Wow. Well, all the things that Todd just said about thanking everybody for being part, I just so resonate. I like it. This walk that we've been on, this journey that we've been on, has been a team. It really has been a team, and there is no I in team to use a cliche. I love how you expressed to where you are. Isn't that a wonderful place in I am to be, where you're not looking around saying who's listening? You just are. You just are. And how beautiful. I love your testimonies, especially the ones that come from the workplace, because that's where our life has to happen, right? In our real life, and that's your real life right now. And we're not always sitting on a beach with a drink with an umbrella in it without a care in the world. So you're you're living it. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And our little Jen is our little Jen. I always feel she belongs to all of us, because she has so often been a barometer of what's going on. And that's so beautiful. Even though it's Zoom, even I've been talking to some of our river people that haven't been able to be on Wednesday nights, and there seems to be a growing trend to want to get together in real time, real life. And I won't give this up, because this started out of necessity, but now it's out of love. And but I know that that groups getting together is really also critical. But Jan, the Plank family, just you guys just radiate over the miles.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Helen. I think I had shared about that dream that I had about after my dad passed. And in the dream,
Yeah.
when he said, there's something special that happens when I turn 60, and he was 79 when he passed. I said, do you mean when I turn 60? He said, no, it's when I turn 60. And so I figured it out when I woke up and I looked at the calendar, and 9 months later, after my dad's 60th birthday, Jen was born. And
Oh,
it just, that shifted everything. Yeah, such a gift.
wow.
But I was going to share, Helen, about Samantha, what Samantha was saying. Before we started tonight, I was just listening to Dr. David Hawkins, just like a little YouTube short, and he was talking about the field, right? The mind of God, and how there really is no cause and effect. Like everything happens by divine ordination and in the perfect timing. Like everything comes, things come out of the field, out of, the unseen into the natural in his divine timing. And that it made me think about that when Samantha was talking about, those things were just ready to happen and it just lined up. And I realized today that I missed something. Such a setup for tonight. I was grocery shopping and I was leaving with my groceries and I heard, why don't you go pray for him? I saw a man walking by kind of shuffling. And I'm like, no, that's my own thought. I mean, I can't believe I did that. And then I went out to the car and I thought maybe that really was. But then I looked at the time and I was already late. So I didn't go back in. But I was like, oh, but this is so awakening me to be awake and to listen for the divine timing and for that voice and to, not hesitate. So, yeah. So I'm very appreciative.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to live it in the now, right? That like where I started with my friend Inger's little, in just that little setup with the girl out of the hospital, telling her to breathe. And when she cooperated with that, God's breath totally healed her. Everyone's kind of shocked, right? Because you escape the hospital to become healed sitting in a chair breathing. Amazing. Amazing. Let's just move into it. Make it simple. And and Sam's like telling just the power of love. That is who we are. We bring that, right? And we don't have to you don't have to take a 12-step program. You don't have to lay hands on, oh my gosh, I can't do it. I forgot my oil. Uh, it just show up and be love, be love. We know how to do that. We're getting better. That was very powerful. Thanks, Sam.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, I have one more story. Pat, can I go after Pat?
Yeah, of course you can.
Reference to that love of God, if
Okay.
you don't mind. Thank you.
Of course, of course, of course. Planks, are you good? Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. All right, here we go. Pat.
Right.
You're there.
I never get tired of hearing miracles. I could listen to them nonstop. Anyway, I'm going to share one of my stories, but I'm going to have to go back a bit first. Why is that sound so weird? Anybody know? I'm getting a
You
You have
you have
your,
your phone on and you have your Zoom on. You have them both on, they're talking to each other.
Oh, okay. I thought I shut it off. Thank you so much. I thought I shut it off. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack. Oh, let's
It's still on.
backtrack. Oh, yeah. Is that now? I'm gonna move it out of here.
I love technology when it works.
I don't know why that's doing that, but anyway, I got rid of it.
There you go.
I share back, I'm gonna go back because I'm gonna lead up to another phenomenal miracle. Okay, so February 23 years ago, I went to see my doctor for a result from some, I think I was having some kind of nothing too major. And so when I got there, the doctor said, "Oh, I have two things to tell you. Um, and one of them is that I'm going to be leaving my practice and you won't be able to come with me because you have to have a certain postal code." And then she said, "And the other one is I found a mass when I was examining you." And I was more upset about her leaving the practice than I was about the mass. So we both thought it was a benign tumor because I wasn't sick, didn't feel sick, didn't look sick, blah, 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 blah. So we went through months and months of testing. Some of you have heard this, so bear with me. And they kept saying it's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I thought, no, it's not non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I feel perfectly fine. Anyway, in June of that same year, it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma spreading like wildfire. And I was not sick, did not look sick. And my husband was like blown away. And I just went, oh, well, the Lord's the Lord of a cancer. And I never was afraid. I was never like, ah, or anything. And that is incredible. So I worked the whole time, didn't miss any work. And then my last treatment, they weren't sure whether the cancer was gone, so they gave more chemotherapy, but I guess it was gone. And I ended up with unbelievable side effects, huge holes in my tongue that were beyond painful. Um, and and then I couldn't really walk. I had to lift my legs up the stairs. And anyway, that eventually got better. But a year after, I was walking along, um, actually by my mom's with my relative, and all of a sudden I got these unbelievable, like hot pokers going into my hips. Like the pain was unbelievable. So anyway, they couldn't seem to find out what was wrong. And then they said my hip cage got tired of holding up my legs, and that's what happened. So I went through many years of these huge needles into my hips until and then they didn't really help anymore. So then I thought, well, why am I going through this pain if it's not helping anymore? So I just ended up having this pain for years and years and years and years until just the other day, like about 3 months ago, they totally disappeared. Nobody prayed for me. We didn't pray about it. And I'm there. This is really cool. And what kept coming to me about it was that while you pray for others, then you are healed. And I thought, yeah, I'll take that, Lord. So that's really cool because I used to every night I'd lie, go in bed and I'd roll over and I'd wake up because the pain was so severe. Then I roll on the other side and wake up because the pain was so severe. So now I can roll and there's no pain. So it's so exciting. And so glory to God and thank you for all of your sharing too. And I'm just going to share one more thing. I got countless miracles in my life and I'm so blessed. Um, I'm going to share a story from about my best friend. She used to come to the group with Helen and Gina and Lana and her son just a few weeks ago had to have 2/3 of his tongue removed from cancer. And then a couple of days later, he had to be rushed in for emergency regrafting of this tongue cancer. And I thought, oh, Lord. Anyway, this just happened. He does not need speech therapy. He's speaking. he ate chicken strips yesterday. This is just a couple of weeks. And he had French toast today. And it's just an incredible miracle. And he went to see good friends of ours who the man is in the hospital from a stroke. And Peter is so encouraged to help him and identified with him because he still can't really get his words out. And he was just like, Myrna was blown away watching him interact with this man who had the stroke, who's a friend of theirs. And he's going to put together a program to help him be able to communicate. And it's just amazing what God does, like incredible. So I just wanted to share that with you as well. So we're very happy about that.
Wow.
And keep sharing the miracles.
Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I talked to Myrna a few days ago, and just the whole process. I mean, imagine, right? Imagine surgery
Yeah.
on your tongue at any level. Thank you for sharing that, really and truly, and thank you, Lord, for looking after it all.
Yes, that's for sure.
Wow,
He's so
wow.
faithful.
Thanks, Pat. Awesome. Samantha, and then are you still there?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, if you don't mind, if I could share one more, I'm really excited about this one. This happened in Brazil again. It just happened less than a month ago, so I'm really excited. It's fresh in my mind. This guy, about 40 something, came in really angry. You could see there's so much anger in his face. And he sat down in front of us. And unfortunately, we were sharing translators. So we didn't have a translator for him to share with us exactly what was on his heart. We just could tell there was a lot of anger there. So since we didn't have a translator, we just started praying just his love once again, cover him with his extravagant love, you know. And he started crying, shaking. He's like 6'2", really big guy. He looked like a football player to me in photos. And he just crying for about 15, 20 minutes. And there were no translators. And we just keep silently praying for his love. And his perfect love entered him and brought forth life. Because after he finished praying, he finished crying, we were able to grab hold of a translator, and he started telling a translator in his 20s, he wanted to be a missionary. So he dedicated his life to prepare to be a missionary. But one of his mentor, a pastor, I think I was dealing with some jealous issue because he was walking in like signs and wonders in his 20s. So stopped him. And so he became really bitter. There's more to the story at the pastor, his mentor figure, and to God. So he stopped going to church. And something kind of called him to come, last month to that church. So he hasn't been to church for 20 years, and he came to that church, not to the service, just for the healing room. And we didn't even know what to pray for him. We just said, just like, love just penetrate into him wherever it needs to be. And God healed him, and he says, I could forgive. The resentment left, he says, out of his mouth, he says, bitterness left, and he said he could forgive. Countenance changed. You could see day and night, he was like full of joy, and he looked lighter, and he looked like he lost weight actually. And it was just amazing to watch. He didn't have to go through so much counseling or ministry session, hours of sozo or whatever, healing modality it might be. It was just his love, his perfect love enter, cast out any form of fear, rejection, abandonment issues, and betrayal, and brought forth life, and was able to release forgiveness not only to that person who hurt him, but to himself, and especially to God. So he rededicated his life to God. It was just heartbreaking for me. He was so passionate in his 20s, and 20 years, enemy kind of delayed, but God makes all things for good, right? So he's gonna do mighty work for God, and I'm sure. But yeah, so I was really excited about it, the healing of the heart, the miracle that happened in his heart. So
Wow.
thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me share.
No, it's so beautiful, and I'm listening to you, and I think it feels like you've been impacted by that same love just in the whole thing, right? Yeah. Never just in isolation. Thank you for sharing that. That's so good. So very good.
I mean, don't you like that kind of healing work better?
Oh
Inner healing
yeah.
work better
Oh
than
yeah.
counseling it?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Just want to walk in that through life, period, right? So good.
Just encounter with his perfect love and bring forth life and healing.
Yeah,
I just love it. Yeah.
perfect. So perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Okay, the lineup, I just have a note here from Kathy who says, I missed Cheryl Miller. You had your hand up and
Yes,
I missed you.
that's okay. I just want to say I had that tongue surgery
Oh,
11 years ago.
Mhm.
oh my.
And you know what? God just was so awesome.
Mhm. Mhm.
Excuse me. I was even wrote up in a medical journal about how fast, how God, well, it didn't say God, but how well everything went and how, yeah, how I healed and all that kind of stuff. And it was just awesome. And the presence of God and the what am I trying to say? The surgeon's skill. And God had just given me just even my family doctor was awed with the way I had got that particular surgeon. And it was just fantastic. And I only had, I think, one session of what do you call it? Of speech therapy afterwards. And yeah, I just praise God every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You are a walking miracle. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. How long was that? How long ago?
11 years ago this month.
Oh my golly.
Mm.
Wow, what a
God
great,
is good and He's our healer.
and he's unlimited. He is
Yeah,
un
one thing that I was really purposing to the whole time that this was, that from the time I was told is I never claimed it as mine. I just had always felt, and the preaching at our church and all the other things is, the devil will throw things at you, but we're never to say I have. And like I said to my pastor, like this is what they told me. And he says, always say you were diagnosed with, or this is what they say, but never own it. And we never ever did.
Come on.
And I think that, life and death are in the power of our tongues.
That's right. That's right. That's
So,
that's a good message right there for all of us. Thanks, Cheryl. Thank you. So glad you have such a good testimony from it.
yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's amazing because I never heard of people having that kind of surgery. And just in the last 2 weeks, this lady mentioned it, and I heard of somebody else that had it, and somebody else at our church actually they haven't had as good of an outcome, but it's there. And I thought, oh my Lord, like this is just becoming more and more prevalent, right?
And
But
you can
God
be
is,
an encourager.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Wow, what a great evening. Okay. I hope I've got the right hands. Plank family.
I know that's so hard to, Todd's like, do you really want to follow that? Wow, Cheryl. Oh my gosh, what a testimony. Well, I had a dream last night about my mom's husband, and as we're talking, I'm realizing that that is a huge testimony just in my life. Um, he's been a difficult person, and so I remember just kind of always choosing arguments. He just, likes that. And I totally don't. I am the opposite. But I remember Todd knows all about it. When I would go visit my mom, I would just go back up to the room. I would just, anytime things got, heated, there goes Elizabeth. But I remember one time I was sitting with him and he started asking me questions. It was tough questions about faith. And I wanted to run, you know, like I'm out of here. And I felt Holy Spirit saying, stay. And so I stayed. And it was a tough conversation. It didn't feel smooth to me. But at the end, he said, my goodness, I don't remember exactly what he said, something like, you are such a woman of faith. You really are the real thing. It was so amazing because I'd never heard him talk like that. It always was against. And I just sat there because Holy Spirit was telling me to sit there. And I just answered, just whatever came out from my heart. And the effect on Roland has been amazing. And every time I talk to him now, he always, well, pray for me. He always brings it up. Like, I know that you walk in faith. And what was I going to say? So also, my heart has so changed. And that was in my dream, how the Lord showed me that I feel this unconditional love for him. And now when we talk on the phone, there's really a connect. It's hard to explain, but things really have shifted. So it's beautiful. And the whole family, it's just been really a hard thing, but I feel such a connection, such a specialness with him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's to put it in perspective, he actually is a rocket scientist, like PhD, worked for NASA. So he's extremely intelligent and loves to debate. I once told him, I said, Roland, you're the most contrarian person I've ever met. You've chosen to argue the opposite side of a study that I was quoting, and you didn't even do the study. You just chose the opposite to challenge me. And I said, I didn't write the study, so I'm not in a place to argue it. I said, but you just love the argument for argument's sake, don't you? And he sat there and he just looked at me. And he said, it made him think a little bit. But he went from that to, so someone who's big in apologetics, right, would be like, okay, this is what you say to that. That's not Elizabeth. She just shared her heart and just answered, I don't know, but I just feel, I don't know, but I know this, and I know this, and I know that. And she just stood on, I am, and I know. Because when she got back, she told me about the conversation and I was floored. Like, how did you change his mind? She didn't. She changed his perspective to someone can have such faith that there's got to be something to this.
So good. So good. You were the perfect person for such a time as this. You just went in.
Who would have thunk it? Oh my gosh. Here, I just wanted to run.
No.
But it's a
I
great,
love that so much, Elizabeth, because you just were obedient, right? And you just did what your heart was resonating and telling you to do, regardless of how that made you feel, and regardless of how you responded before. And it was for that time beautifully because he was ready. And that is such a beautiful testimony because the love that you walked in was what spoke to his heart. It didn't matter about the apologetics or the proof or the whatever blah blah blah, the intelligence of the whole thing. It was your love, and it conquered all. I love that. That's just beautiful. And had you run away, you'd have missed it. So don't even worry about running away on that person you're supposed to pay or you felt that you're supposed to pray for. Don't worry about it. You don't have to be with that person to pray for them. So pray for them tonight and you'll have
Okay,
done.
thank you, Gina. Thank you. Because I'm like, shucks.
No,
Okay,
you never miss it.
okay.
So
if
there
he
you go.
needs them,
You
I
can
know where
redeem
he can
that.
get
No,
crutches.
no problem.
Did you hear Todd?
No.
And if he needs them, I know where he can get crutches.
Yeah, there
There
you
you
go.
go. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. They're still floating in the bay. I think the secret sauce for tonight is love. I think that's sort of where we've landed. That's really awesome. That is the best. Thank you for sharing that. I know that took a lot of courage and good for you. Absolutely good for you. All right. Debbie, you had your hand up. Is it down? Did it just disappear?
Well, I think my story paled in respect to what I've been hearing from everybody. But when Samantha gave that testimony, her testimonies, I've had a fraction of that happen to me just in the last, I would say, few days. And I've also seen it in somebody else's life that's a friend of mine. And there's just been these pauses of moments that I really don't know exactly what happened, but there was just a instantaneous knowing of something and a shift within me that I don't even know how to explain it. I kind of saw a picture, but it just to give you an example, what happened yesterday, well, about 2 weeks ago, I was listening to Justin Abraham preaching, teaching, and then he ended up praying. And it was such a powerful prayer, and it just grabbed me. And I mean, I just received, and I knew I had received, and I'd had this symptom that would come and go in my body, and that symptom left. And this was like 2 weeks ago. And then a couple of days ago, it started coming back. And I've been through a healing process before, and I know how we get counterattacked and we have to just stand on the word again. So anyway, that happened to me 2 days ago, where it was just a moment in time where there was a shift that happened to me, and it was a good shift. It felt like it was just into a little bit higher realm dimension. And when that happened to me, I immediately manifested that healing back in my body that I'd received a couple of weeks ago, but then it wasn't there. But I'm not making a whole lot of sense here. But anyway, it was the moment, and I'm not sure how to exactly explain it, except that just like what Todd was explaining, I think it was a moment of where there was just a clarity of I was in my I amness. And so it's instantaneous too, that when he prayed and that clicked and I received, the pain left immediately. And then yesterday, when that happened to me again, it was that shift that was inside of me. And I immediately, the pain that had returned was gone. And I think what it is what Todd was saying. It was a moment when I shifted into that I amness, and you already are that. It's just a moment of clarity that comes, that it just manifests instantaneously when you're in that, because you're actually who you really are. And I've been thinking about it, and it's been happening to me. It's probably happened to me about 3 times in the last few days. And I'm like, I know it's not really miraculous, but it feels like it's miraculous because that shift that you get on the inside, I mean, that to me is greater than anything because it's unto freedom, it's unto life. Yeah. And it's more life when you get that shift. And yesterday, I had to have to help facilitate a group, and I was feeling this oppression, but I wasn't really identifying it as oppression. And so it was just kind of a vague type thing. And it happened to me during that. And, I think it's just those moments when there's just a clarity and the reality of who you are. Bam, it's just there. And it shifted me. The shift was internal. And I went from oppression into just joy, just expansive joy. But it happened on the inside. It wasn't, anything external or anything like that. And, actually it was spurred by, I was studying the word, and I had come upon the word in Isaiah 40:31 when it says, wait upon the Lord. That word wait means entwine. It doesn't mean wait upon the Lord. It doesn't mean that. It means to entwine with him. And that's when yesterday that shift came. When that revelation was coming to me, that shift came where I was just immediately from this oppressive kind of state into just light, and I'm thinking that this is what we should be living in all the time. This is really what life in Christ is. And, I'm excited to be able to have experienced what I have, the last few days, because you don't forget those kind of things. And you actually, when those things happen to you, you already uplift into that level. You can't ever go back from that. No. You've ascended into more of who you are. Yeah. And, and I don't think it's God just, all of a sudden showing up. I don't think that's what it is. I think there's just moments of clarity that come where I realize that I'm already this. I am already healed. I am already, what he says, we already are free.
That's right.
But we live under such oppression that's what I was, I'm not sure if anybody else would call it oppression, because it wasn't. I don't go into dark moods and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was just kind of a blah type thing. But that really is oppression. That's not the life that Christ gave us. And it's just startling to me when I get those shifts on the inside. I'll take a shift on the inside versus a shift on the outside any day.
Absolutely.
Because your life changes. And and yesterday, last night after this had happened, I don't know how to explain this except however God speaks to us when it's not words, but I knew that what we have in it was like I had it was like this shot that went up to the heavens, and for a moment I felt the release of being in the Trinity. It's release from all the junk that's in us is what it is. And the emotional weights and the worries and the cares and all that kind of stuff. And when it happened to me last night, I asked the Lord about it, and I believe that that's what letting go and surrendering unto life is. I think that's what you experience.
That's right.
And I got a taste of that, and it's it feels like I went to a higher level, the bottom part of a higher level. And anyway, it's way better than daily life.
I just want to encourage you to stay in it. Just stay in it.
Yeah.
That you could have the best seminar or the 12-step program of how to do something, but the school of knowledge and understanding and wisdom in him that he has you in trumps it all. And,
You are right.
yeah,
You're right.
and I think that, and the fact that you're responding to it, you're seeing the results, and you're staying the course, you're standing in your sovereignty, understanding that you are, I am, and that just sounds so encouraging to me.
Oh.
Awesome.
It was, and it amazes me because, well, I had a friend that was, as I was telling her this, she was like, "Well, tell me the steps you went through," and I said, "I can't do that because it was in a moment of spirit to spirit with the Lord, like you were talking about, where there's impartation or however He teaches us, and it's not like a formula you can follow."
Right.
But you have the experience and you really don't know exactly what happened to you. You get little glimmers and pieces. And so many times for me, it's way down the road
Yeah.
that I realized what the heck happened to me, So it wasn't like I set out to, do some steps to make that happen.
Yeah.
The experience comes and then he explains is that the way it works for you guys?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I think, and Maggie who said, it sounds like a shift from glory to glory, and that's exactly that's
yeah. That's
and,
what it is.
And this is a great place to wind up, understanding that we can go in these miracles from faith to faith, from glory to glory.
Yeah.
Nothing's impossible. And we are totally unlimited in it.
Yes. Amen.
I just appreciate everybody tonight and bringing your supply, bringing your miracles. And I have a feeling we may have just scratched the surface on a few things that if we delve into our lives more, I don't know. I'm going to just put us on. I'm going to unpin myself and go on speaker, or not go on speaker, go on gallery. What a great opportunity. And thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for sharing. It's been very, very rich. And how many t-shirts can we make out of this one? Miracle magnets indeed. You all are. Thank you for sharing your lives. Wow. Well, 7 more sleeps from now, we will be visiting in conversation with Laura, and looking forward to seeing everybody back if you can. Some are traveling. Lana's visiting. Jerry's at sports events, and it just goes on and on. We seem to have busy Wednesday night lives. I don't understand it when we, we are the river. What is it? It's all fun. Anyway, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine on you, be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his shalom. Nothing missing, nothing broken. I love you all from my toes to the cosmos.